Following up from PAX West, we saw this snowblind panel at the Intel booth. This is by IBUYPOWER, and it was sort of a prototype. It's still a prototype.
They took an LCD panel, they made it transparent, and then made it the side window for a case.
It's a 5x4, 1280 by 1024, 19-inch screen that they take the back off in, I believe, a clean room. I'm just going to assume that, and then mount it in here.
I said, you know what? I'm going to figure out how to make one at home. And that's what I did.
This is so cool. This is the coolest side panel window I have ever seen. Let me look at that like inkblot effect. I was like, how did they do this?
Snowblind.
Snowblind.
Snowblind?
Here it is. What's going on YouTube? My name is Chris and welcome to ImmodderNation. Now I know many of you are very surprised to see this video. Back in April 2017, I put out a video showcasing the LCD side panel mod, aka my version of IBUYPOWER's Snowblind case. And if you enjoyed that video, and 2,500 of you did, you have IBUYPOWER to thank for that. You see, IBUYPOWER and Intel worked together to develop the Snowblind case. However, IBUYPOWER refuses to sell the case individually, something that customers begged for continuously for years. So I made the decision to reproduce the Snowblind mod and provide a step-by-step guide on how to do exactly that. Done and done. However, any of you that are familiar with my channel know that I do not leave well enough alone. At the end of the first video, there were still many reservations that I had about the mod itself. First, the lighting. So what did I do? I used brighter, wider lighting. Check. Second, the background was just way too dark to be able to see any of the images clearly. What I really needed was a white background. So I decided that I was gonna paint my motherboard white with Plasti Dip paint. Check. Even after having completed those two upgrades for the LCD side panel mod, I realized that there were still more things that I needed to do. One of the things that I wanted to do was add a toggle switch so that I would have the ability to turn the lights on and off. This was to reduce my power usage when I wasn't near the case, and also so that I'd be able to sleep better. One of the other things that I noticed was that there was white light leaking from the tops and the bottoms of the window, and that's because the LCD was not the proper size for the window. So my idea was to add Plasti Dip. Now I didn't really like the black Plasti Dip idea, so I decided that I was going to replace it with electrical tape instead. One of the biggest issues that I didn't address very well in the first video was the fact that the LCD panel was sagging, and that's because One of the issues that I didn't address very well in the first video was the fact that the LCD side panel was sagging in the window. And that's because I attached the LCD to the window using adhesive. So the tape wasn't really a good solution, but it was a temporary solution until I could find a better mounting system. By the way, before we get into the guide, there are two things that I want to say. One is that I hope you watched the first video before watching this one. If you haven't seen the first video, I encourage you to click on that card in the upper right-hand corner. Version 2.0 is largely an upgrade of the original LCD side panel mod. So some things like bits and pieces of the wiring, I'm going to keep the same. When you watch this video, I'm going to assume that you know how to take an LCD monitor apart. And every LCD monitor is going to be different, so I won't be able to address that individually. The second announcement I'm going to make at the end of this video. So make sure you're watching. All right, and now if you're ready, and I know you are because you've been waiting for 2 years now, let's go!
Before we begin on LCD side panel mod version 2.0, we need to salvage what's left of version 1.0. I'm removing the window carefully in order to paint the inside of the panel. My hope is that painting the panel white will reflect some of the light back into the case, helping to illuminate the effect. I'm roughing up the inside of the panel with a sanding block. Any of you who've ever painted before understand that paint and primer won't stick to smooth, non-porous surfaces. Think of it as tough love for the computer case. I'm using a wet rag to remove all of the grit left behind from the sanding. Did I mention that I'm not planning on keeping this rag? I'll be using Rust-Oleum's Ultra Cover White Primer. And you just lost the game. I mean, three coats of primer. I don't plan on using actual paint over this. I mean, it's already white. Why would I create an extra step for myself? I got to do, son. I added the shims back using the 3M Extreme mounting tape. By the way, for any of the products that I use in this video, you can find them in the video description below. To attach the plastic shims to the window, I'm using Weld-On Side Grip 3. This stuff will burn your nostrils, so don't go inhaling it, idiot. I'm using masking tape to hold the LCD down in place, and that's so that I can work on the mounting system. And now we're just flapping in the wind. You should never use tape as a mounting system. If you don't believe me, go watch LCD side panel mod version 1.0. I'm using the plastic shims to lock the LCD in place. It's important that when you use Weld-On, you press the two pieces of plastic firmly together. And that nasty gap rears its ugly head once again. This job calls for black electrical tape. I'm gonna be using it to cover the light coming through the display. And now we're gonna add the LED strips back. The attaching and removing the LED strips has weakened the adhesive on the back of the strips, so I'm gonna be using super glue to fix that. If this is your first time, and it probably is, you won't be needing to use super glue for this step. I'm drilling a hole in the acrylic in order to do some fancy wiring. This step is completely unnecessary, unless you're fancy. He's so fancy. Oh, he's so fancy. Here's a preview of what it would look like. The hole allows me to route the wires underneath the acrylic without damaging the wires. My next order of business will be working on the switch for the light. I'll be adding a rocker switch in this rubber grommeted area, which is supposed to be used for water cooling. I've never seen anybody use these before, and frankly, I don't understand why case manufacturers still include them. I've spliced in these wires that come from the wiring harness of the LED light system. Oh yeah, when I get lazy, I melt heat shrink tubing with the end of the soldering iron. You probably don't want to do that. I know a lot of people were having issues with the wiring for the LCD side panel mod, so I've attached this wiring diagram. And everyone wanted to know what pins the power were connected to. Now I'm telling you, it's connected to pins 3 and 6 if you start from the top working your way to the bottom. I don't know why this information will be helpful, because your monitor will likely not be the same. Even if you own a 1907 or 1908 Dell monitor, there are different subtypes. In fact, I found the service manual for the 1907 FPC, and it's completely different from the 1907 FP that I own. So just understand that I don't make any guarantees that this is the correct way that will work for you. This is the method that worked for me, and I hope that you could use this as a springboard to figure out what will work for you. I hope this helps. Time to remove the cables and work on the more intensive portions of this mod. Hey, you like that camera trick? Looks fluid, right? I think I'm getting better. So one of the issues that I had was creating a white background, and I thought that painting the motherboard would be enough. No, looks like I'm going to make the entire background white. So that means the front and back panels are coming off, removing the graphics card, and any cables or obstructions that are gonna get in my way. Power supplies gotta go too. Come on. The background that I will be using will be made from painted white acrylic. But first I need to measure the dimensions of the internals. To help explain the next part, I've drawn it out for you. The dimensions of the motherboard are roughly 12.5 by 9.5 inches. I'll need access to the hard drives in the back, so I'll need a hole of about 5.5 inches wide. Then there are these holes down here designed for cable management. This last piece here is going to rest on the motherboard tray. You got it? Good. I'm putting the individual pieces back into the case to check for fitment. I cut out these pieces of acrylic using my Black & Decker rotary tool. I know it seems like I'm skipping steps, but if I showed you every single thing that I did, we would be here for the next 3 years. I don't want to be one of those mod channels where it's 7 minutes of fast forwarding through footage. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just not me. I'm marking the holes of the cutouts with a pencil, and I'm going to cut them out using my rotary tool. I cut the general shape using a fiberglass reinforced cutting wheel and followed it up with the sanding tool. Next, I'll be measuring out the hard drive enclosure. I try to keep everything stored onto solid state drives, but I do have a 1 terabyte hard drive for games. And this is what the computer looks like with the holes cut out so far. And now I'm test fitting piece number 2 before I put it under the rotary tool. I'm so glad that I picked up a scroll saw. It's going to make quick work of acrylic in the future. With the acrylic pieces cut out, you know what time that means.
Put the kids to bed, close the blinds, and lock the door. It's time to peel it off.
Whoa, where am I? What's all this plastic wrap on the floor? Oh, hi, you're still here. I'm prepping the plastic with a scuff pad, getting it ready for paint. I wiped off the dust with a clean rag and hit it with a Rust-Oleum white primer. I'm only looking for a matte white background, so I don't need any paint or clear coat. And after they've had a chance to dry, we're going to get these bad boys back into the case. Once the holes were lined up, I put in some screws to just hold the back plate into place. And to address the issues of the black tubing on the water cooler, I bought this AIO cooler kit from CableMod. I realized I could have just painted the tubes white, but I wanted a chance to try this kit out. It comes with these 2 white tubes that unravel and wrap around the AIO cooler. It also comes with installation instructions, but instructions are for peasants and I'm not going to read it. It slips on like a vest for your Jimmy. And if you get that reference, congratulations, you grew up in the right generation of music. And it looks like I have some leftover pieces. Now I'm left with the task of putting everything back together again. Praise God for fast forward. It's important to note that I changed the orientation of the LED strip on the bottom to shine through the LCD as well as the backing acrylic piece. This change is twofold. 1, it'll illuminate the LCD. 2, the light will diffuse through the acrylic backing, lighting the display more evenly. Or so I hope. I'll have to experiment with it. I'm using a lint-free cloth and a fan to remove as much dust and hair as possible before I lay down the acrylic backing. I've super glued these acrylic standoffs to the window. I'm gonna hot glue them to the LCD board so the LCD board is not flapping around in the wind. This will reduce tension on the ribbon cables, the most fragile part of the LCD. Put the LCD side panel back on and let the magic happen.
If you've gotten this far, congratulations on completing the mod. Now, what do? The first thing you need to do is adjust the monitor, and there are two ways that you can do this. You can do this by the front panel that is still attached to the LCD logic board, but that will only get you so far. What I've noticed with most monitors, especially Dell monitors, is that the adjustment options are locked out for DVI connectors. Things like brightness and contrast simply aren't adjustable by the hardware controls. However, that's where software controls come in. The good news is that you can individually adjust this monitor using the NVIDIA control panel or the AMD Catalyst Control Center if you swing that way. No judgment. Now, every monitor is going to be different, but there are two settings that I recommend. One is boosting the contrast and the saturation. This is going to allow you to get the deepest colors, the darkest tones possible. The other settings you're going to want to set to taste, and that's going to be based on a number of variables, including the type of lighting situation you're in, as well as the type of LCD monitor that you're using. Take a quick break here. Now, there are a number of free and paid software options that you can use to display images on your LCD side panel case. Right now, I'm using VLC Media Player, and I like it for a number of reasons. One, because you can open up multiple instances at the same time, so you can have one playing on your main display as well as on the computer case. The other reason I like it is because you can change the aspect ratio based upon the aspect ratio of your LCD display. So for example, this display is a 5:4 ratio, so I simply go into the options and adjust the aspect ratio to 5:4. VLC Media Player is free, and you can download it by using the link in the video description below. Another free option is Rainmeter. Now, maybe you've seen Rainmeter in IBUYPOWER's promotional videos. Not only does it allow you to change the background, but it'll allow you to add widgets. And you can configure these widgets to display critical system information. Rainmeter is available for download using the link in the video description. All right, and now we're gonna get into our paid services. The first one of which is one of the most popular. It's Wallpaper Engine. It's available on Steam. At the time of this video, it's about $3.99. But sometimes Steam has a sale, so it might be a little bit cheaper if you cash in at the right time. Wallpaper Engine is great because not only are there stock wallpapers available, but there are many downloadable ones within the Steam community. I've got it right now set to the sports car here. There's many more different types of animations. Definitely check it out if you're looking for some high quality images. Are you ready for my announcement? All right, here it is. I am going to be making and selling drop-in kits for your computer case so that you guys can have the LCD side panel mod on your own PC. I'm doing this really for people that find the guide too difficult, or they just don't have the time or the patience to do the mod themselves. I may need to work out a few legal issues with IBUYPOWER first. But anyway, let me know in the comments section what PC case you have if you are interested in purchasing one of these drop-in kits. I imagine they're going to be somewhere around $300. Don't panic, because I may be able to reduce the price as I get more orders coming in. I'm trying to find some commonality between the types of cases that you guys use, especially like NZXT cases, and once I discover that, I can create a bunch of stock that is ready to ship out. So this is it. This is the completed LCD side panel mod version 2.0. So where do we go from here? Well, I have one more trick up my sleeve, and that trick involves the use of a light guide. You might remember from the Science of Snowblind video that I talked about how IBUYPOWER uses a light guide to enhance the colors for their display. So I tried using the light guide from the Dell monitor that I had to some mixed results, actually. The opacity was much improved by the light guide, but unfortunately the clarity was significantly reduced, and I couldn't understand why until I compared the light guide from the Dell monitor to the light guide in the IBUYPOWER Snowblind. Can you see the difference? The dots on the light guide are further apart. My guess is that this improves the clarity and your ability to see through, hence the transparent display. So I've come to the conclusion that IBUYPOWER is using some sort of custom light guide. So I contacted ePlastics about creating a custom light guide, and they quoted me $200, which is far beyond what I want to pay for this mod. So just understand that this guide will get you 90% to the IBUYPOWER Snowblind mod, but you still kind of miss that 10%. I'm still working on a possible solution for this. So I guess that means I'll see you next time for LCD side panel mod version 3.0, but probably not.
Thank you so much for checking out this video, and if you enjoyed it, make sure you slap that like button below and share the video. And while you're at it, why not join the ImmodderNation and get subscribed by clicking on that subscribe button below. And hey, when you do, don't forget to click on the bell icon inside the button to be notified the moment that I release new videos. If you have any comments or questions, be sure to leave them for me in the comment section below, or why not hit me up on social media? I'd love to hear from you guys. And when you buy products from Amazon, consider using the affiliate links in the video description below. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see ya!